20 years now. I was pretty much doing it as a brick and mortar. And then during COVID, I had to kind of move online and started this space online. I actually have my own podcast called Moms Talk Sex, where we talk all about the ins and outs of what, it takes to have a marriage, even though you might have experienced trauma, right? And how to keep that the love and the passion and the intimacy going. And so that's what I do. And you can find me on all the platforms under More Healing or Mor Yelvington. I'm all over the place.
Everywhere and everywhere saving souls one person at a time, right?
Well, I would say God is the one saving the souls, and we're the bridge for that information is how I like to address it, I guess.
So let me ask you, I guess my first question is, why did you get started in this type of work?
Well, because my own trauma really led me down a path of healing. And so when I was really young, at the age, when I was 6, my parents got divorced. When I was 9, my dad died in a car accident. And what happened, I wasn't aware of this as a child, but what happened was the pain was so much that I disconnected from my body. And so then, even though I went to talk therapy, which was really easy for me to do because I was disconnected, I could talk about my stuff without feeling any of it, right? I grew up as a teenager that was very angry and very numb, doing crazy things to feel, right? So it was very out of the box, not great for my mom at all, I have to say. And and it was challenging. And then when I became, 20, one of my girlfriends was like, "Hey, I just did this weekend healing thing. I think you should do it." And so I went to do it. And one of the activities that we did in this weekend was muscle testing. And muscle testing is a technique that's based on the fact that your body holds the answers to anything that you're asking. And so there's a lot of ways to do it, but how we did it was we got into a couple pairs, and the person you were with would ask you a question. And if that question was a yes, your body moved forward or backwards. And if it was a no, it moved backwards. And so she was asking me, what your name is Mor, and my body moves forwards. Your name is Lisa, and I move backwards. You like chocolate. My body goes, forward. And then when she asked me like deep questions, I would just freeze. And so my body wouldn't move at all. I would just freeze. And she would like play with this. And then after a few questions like that, she would be like, "Where do you go? Every time I ask you a triggering question, your body just freezes." And the way she said it was like, "I could see you just leave your body." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally do that. I've been doing that my whole life." Right. And I suddenly had this awareness of like, wow, this is an amazing capacity. But it also means that I'm living my life from a pretty numb place because I'm not really feeling the good stuff either, not just the bad stuff. And so it really sent me down this journey of reconnecting, actually making my body feel safe again, which meant to clear that trauma and clear that pain and really release it so I could feel safe to be in my body again. And then start helping other women do the same because I just realized so many women get so disconnected from their body, and not necessarily just from trauma, but just from a lot of times being in this reality, just by being told as a woman you're not good enough from day one, that's enough for you to be like, peace out, you know? So that's my story in a nutshell.
When you're helping these women and they're experiencing this disconnection from their body, their emotions, in a lot of ways from the everyday life because they're just on autopilot, and to your point, they probably don't even know how they even got through the day. W- From your experiences, not only maybe from yourself, but the women you work with, why is this happening to so many women?
Well, I truly believe that we're, this is a convoluted question, I feel like, but I feel like it happens to women because in this reality, you know, there's so much, it's like we're against us in a lot of ways, right? It's like this society tells you how to look, how not to look, what to wear, what not to wear, how to be, what not to be. From a very, very young age, you're like, be a nice girl, you need to do all these things. And if you don't fit into that form, or if you're trying to fit into that form, you're going to energetically cut all these pieces of you in order to be loved, in order to be safe, in order to be seen or unseen. And there's all this pressure, and so a lot of times I feel like it's so easy not to deal with that, just disconnect, right? And so if I numb this part of me, if I don't talk so loud, if I don't talk so boldly, if I don't look so this, if I don't look so that, I won't be hurt. And so slowly and surely we just kind of cut off, cut off, cut off. And then I think another part is, you know, especially with sex in this reality, right? There's a lot of women that experience, we know that in the whole Me to Me movement, right? Of abuse, where that's one of the number one things that happen when you disconnect from your body because it's just too painful to be in it. And a lot of the times we relate that to being a woman. Like, I was hurt because I'm a woman, so let me just disconnect from this part of me so I can't be hurt again. But the problem with that is that essentially we cut off the part that connects us. I call it your powerhouse, right? You cut off your powerhouse, which is your source of creativity, of energy, of vitality. And so there's this cut of this energy that you come into this world with. And so that's what I really work on women with, really reconnecting back to their source, to their powerhouse.
And when these women are looking to reconnect, what's maybe some of the obstacles that they would face in that reconnection process?
So, a little backtracking, most women, and what I realized, just like me, wasn't you're not really aware that you're disconnected, right? So there's signs. So what are the signs? A lot of times insomnia, low libido, anxiety, depression, right? All these kind of things that we think they're the problem, they're actually just the signs along the way telling you, hey, there's something going on underneath the surface you should look into. So most of the women that come to me, they come to me after they tried a bunch of stuff, they took medication or they're on medication, and nothing is really helping them. And it's like kind of like the last resort, I would say, for a lot of women, which I want to change. That's the goal, for you to be like, okay, I have this. Let's do this first. Um, because a lot of times we try to like fix the symptom as the problem, and that's not the actual problem. And so when they come to me from a place of, like desperate almost. And most of the time, that means that they're also in a place of like, I'm just so ready to let this go. I'm so ready for it to heal. I'm so ready to find out what it is that's wrong, quote unquote, with me and fix it. And so I think the biggest part is realizing that nothing is actually wrong with you. I think a lot of people think that they're broken or, bad or whatever. And it's really fine. I think the biggest thing is kind of tuning out your thinking brain and actually coming back to your body and actually feeling again and knowing that it's safe again. And that's a process that you have to kind of relearn to do, kind of like riding a bike.
You're describing one of my ex-girlfriends. I love you, ex-girlfriend. Don't do anything to me, please. But yeah, right, because you're raising fantastic points, but you're right. Like it could be that I'm disconnected from myself, so I shut down in different areas. And sometimes you're shutting down in an area that you don't even expect. You can be shutting down in your relationship. You could be
100%.
shutting down in your marriage. You could be shutting down as a mother, as a father, as a husband, or as a wife. Um, I wish more people shut down at work, but hey, it just seems to be on more so the personal and the romantic side. If you're someone in a relationship, let's say because you work with women, those are the women who are in relationships and they're beginning to shut down and they identify because they see how it's impacting their partner or their families or even both. How do we help them?
So the main key here, right? A lot of times what happens is it's like when you fall in love or you're in the beginning of a relationship, you are a lot of times the best version of yourself, right? Or maybe you're pretending to be the best version of yourself, right? Because you want to say all the right things and do all the right things. And a lot of times we cut a lot of us off too there, right? Because we're not always so true to ourselves in the beginning. But then you start knowing the person and you fall in love and you start feeling safer and safer. And that's when the true you comes out because now you're like, okay, this person, they do love me, they do care. Let me, I feel more comfortable to kind of let my guard down. And what happens then is that suddenly you're like, whoa, all this stuff is coming up because a lot of times we're a mirror to one another, right? And so for me, oh my gosh, with my husband, like we've been together for a long time, I want to say 16 years. And from the beginning, we had very different upbringings, and even for me, coming from a place of losing a father, it took me a while to trust men, to trust that they won't just leave, right? And so he was the mirror to that. The minute there was this amazing guy that really loved me for who I was, my first fear was he's going to leave. So I was trying to sabotage it, right? And it was the mirror for me to be like, okay, that's my thing. It's not his thing, right? And so I think the most important thing when you have these things uprising in your relationship, uprising with your children, a lot of times we try to throw stone at the other person because it's so easy to blame the other person instead of looking at us as though they are our mirror. And so when I switched the lens and I was like, okay, this is a problem. I'm the one triggered here eventually, not him. So it's something bothering me, right? Whatever it is, it's bothering me. Let's find out why am I bothered with this? Why is this affecting me? Why am I the one losing my patience or taking it out on him? Like, why? Coming to you, fixing you. That's the number one thing. And the best thing you can do, and the minute you do that, the minute you heal yourself, everybody around you starts to heal and starts to change and starts to shift. It's a ripple effect, but it has to start with you.
The way you said that reminded me of a conversation I had in an interview I shared with someone that once you start to heal yourself, two things usually happens. Your perception of yourself will change. I love me in different ways. Oh my God, I'm so sexy, right? Inside and outside, of course. And the second thing is you begin to realize, oh, maybe this person can't be on the journey with me to that I'm taking. That person can make it, right? Mor can make this journey, but Jane can't. Terrain can, but Tommy can't, right? Because your perception of everything changes. And I share that because I know sometimes some people can maybe reject that idea because they think to themselves, well, Terrain, well, Mor, if I continue down this path, I'll feel better. But if I feel better, I may look at other people and realize they don't make me feel better. If I realize they don't make me feel better, I may be alone. And if I'm alone, I feel lonely. And if I'm lonely now, what if I get to the end of that tunnel and I realize all the people who are healed aren't willing to have me around? My self-worth. I feel like I'm not worthy of these new friends because my brain has been used to these people for the last 10, 15 years, this version of myself. It hasn't killed me, but the unknown over there, that leap you're asking me to take, it might be a bit too far. What role do you think self-worth and self-value plays in this reconnection when you're helping these women?
I love this question and I love how you positioned it because the way I see it is when, like I said, the minute you start healing, your frequency changes, your vibration changes. So, right now, you know how they say your friends is kind of like who you are, like a demonstration of who you are? Well, what happens is when you start healing, you'll notice that your friends, the ones that really care about you and really love you, they're also going to be like, "Ooh, what are you doing? You look so different. Oh, what is it about you?" And you start inspiring them because they're going to be like, "What book are you reading? Or what are you listening to? Who are you working with? Because you lost all this weight and and your skin is glowing and you're suddenly happy and you're not complaining anymore." Right? It's like we change the frequency and everything starts changing with us. And yes, the people that don't vibrate like us, they're going to drop off. But those are probably the people that you don't want around you anyway, and you don't know really how to get rid of them at this point, right? Because we have a lot of those people that do drag us down, that don't benefit us spiritually or emotionally in any way. And a lot of times we like to be people pleasers and stay in the circle. And so when you start doing the work on yourself, everything changes. But you'll also notice that it's not like you're going to start saying, I want to hang out with you. You'll just notice that they come around less and less because they don't vibrate with you. And you'll notice that you're going to meet more and more people that do vibrate what you're vibrating. And so you're going to be calling in your soul family, is what I call the people that are here to support your growth, to make you better and evolve you into the person you're here to be.
Can that be a scary journey for people to make?
Maybe, but I think it's a lot scarier to be really unhappy, in pain, depressed, because in a way you're still alone. Just because there's a body next to you in a bed, if you're disconnected, you have no intimacy, every night you're wondering if they're cheating on you or if they even love you, isn't that even more lonely?
That's a good point. Just because I have someone beside me doesn't mean that I'm not going to feel loneliness because the body is there, but the emotional connection, the spiritual connection, the mental connection is not there. I may have the physical, which is so easy these days to get, right? You don't even have to put out a sign anymore in front of your house. They're coming without the sign, right? But it's like when someone says that I have both parents in the house, but they're emotionally absent.
Yeah.
They're not really, they're there, but they're not really there, versus you don't have the parent that's physically there, but when you leave your home, you have that all that emotional support. So which one is better? That depends on the person, right? But both are unfortunate in their own ways. I see a lot of women that I've come in contact with, the ones I work, I've seen them as they get older, they seem to struggle with that piece. Whereas I've reached a certain age, I think my opportunity for love is shrinking. So if I start to make these changes, what if I don't get the love, and what if I lose my friends and I'm all alone? And when you're all alone at that age, it could be tough because a lot of people's friends is what they made earlier on in their life. Do you see a difference between women who are maybe more advanced in years versus those who are a little bit younger?
It's interesting, because a lot of my clients are I have clients in their like 30s to 40s, and then I have a lot of clients that are in their 60s, even upper 70s. And every woman that's come to work with me, if she was looking for a mate, she actually found a mate, somebody that really loves her for who she is. And the ones that are in marriage relationships, their relationships are flourishing because, again, it's almost like you're awakening this part of you that you just haven't tapped into for so long. And I truly believe that each of us has, our soulmates or our twin flame, whatever you want to call it, out there. And the thing is, they're waiting for you to become the person that they're supposed to be with. Right? We're all on this journey. And it's like if you get stuck with the person that makes you feel safe, but unhappy and unfulfilled, right? You're actually missing out on your person that's waiting for you to become the better version of yourself because they are waiting for you to vibrate in the same place, right? So they can be even in your neighborhood, but you'll never even see them because you're vibrating down here. And so the more you do the work, it's not about leaving behind and being alone. It's actually becoming more and more of you, right? You're becoming more and more of you. So this fear of being alone and being left behind, I feel like the fear of your ego, not the fear of who you actually are and not your sole purpose.
Would that mean then people would get stuck in that identity of who they think they are and not necessarily who they should become?
Yeah, and that's what happens, right? It's like we have the spark in us. We know we're made for greatness, but it's a lot easier to sit on the couch and watch Netflix and numb out, right? It's a lot easier to go out and drink wine every night and completely forget that I'm here and I have a mission and I'm here to support or grow, or right? It's a lot easier to eat a tub of ice cream instead of have sex with my husband and awaken that energy inside of me. We do so many things to numb ourselves because we're disconnected and because we're just comfortable and the uncomfortable, right? It's like the comfort zone is what sticks us most of the time. And right now, it's so easy to keep that going. It's really easy to come home, put your kids to bed, and sit on the couch with your, spouse, and you're both on your phone until you go to bed or one of you falls asleep, right? But does that mean you're not alone? If you're both numbing out, you're still alone. You're not present. And that's the biggest thing. When you're disconnected, you're not present in your life. You're not present in your relationships. So, what you're going to leave behind when you start healing yourself, you're going to leave behind the numbness. You're going to leave behind the discomfort of stepping outside of your comfort zone.
I've seen people with that level of disconnection where they have full families and the way they maneuver around their house is no different than watching an episode of The Walking Dead. Right? They're zombies in their own home. There was someone that I knew that worked long hours, 12, 14 hours. And when she would get home, she would just sleep and sleep and sleep. And when she would get up, the way that she would walk, it was straight out of a horror movie because she had the long black hair that would cover her face. We all know that one, right? And she would walk dragging her feet. And it's like, oh my God, imagine seeing that at night. Even the strongest of men would jump, right? Because it's not even a person that is exuding love. It's someone that is strictly just surviving. And this is something that I try to tell women specifically a lot because men and women have their own struggle. And I share with a lot of women, there's a big difference between surviving and thriving. Surviving is going to the job, coming home, eat, sleep, and repeat. That's surviving. If you think that's living, come meet myself more and everyone else, and we'll show you people that's living life. Because the job is supposed to be in addition to everything else in your life that's making you happy.
Exactly.
Everything else in your life is not supposed to be in addition to the job. Why do you think so many people confuse the two when it comes to not feeling disconnected from their families, to your point, and their lovers and their partners?
Well, again, I feel like when you experience trauma, then you're disconnected a lot of times. You don't even know that you're disconnected, right? And so if you don't even know you're disconnected, it's really hard to find what the actual problem is. You just feel lost. You feel numb and you think you're just broken and you don't know why you're feeling like this. A lot of times, especially if you experience trauma before the age of 9, which happens with a lot of children, we just completely block off. There's a part of our brain that blocks that off, so we don't even remember it happens. So I do believe there's a lot more people walking around with trauma than what they know, right? And also, the big part for me here is when you are disconnected, the biggest thing that is hard for you to do is receive because receiving feels very scary and unsafe. And if your nervous system feels that it's unsafe to receive, even though you maybe want the love and you want the money and you want the things, your nervous system shuts the door. I'm actually in the process of teaching right now. It's a free 5-day masterclass called Open to Receive. And it's exactly what we're talking about because even if I want to give somebody healing, if receiving healing is going to feel scary, then they're not going to receive it. So it's really about working with your body to be open to receive, right? And so the first thing is awareness. And the first thing is awareness because if you're not aware, and if you think this is normal, if you think it's normal to get up in the morning and go to work and drag your feet and come home and go to bed and have no life and disconnect, if you feel that that's normal, there's going to be a point where the universe is going to knock, knock, knock with a bad, with something that's going to wake you up because that's not what you're here to do. right? And you see it over and over again. That's when people get cancers or heart attacks or their lover leaves them and they don't understand why, right? I didn't do anything, but they just left me and I don't know why, right? It's when divorce suddenly happens. Like it's all these things the universe trying to wake you up like, hey, there's something here you need to look at. Whatever you need to do needs to like awaken you. And that's why so many people have like the rock bottom story, right? I hit this rock bottom, and then from there, I realized I have to help myself. Well, I think with our work, we're just trying to awaken people before that happens. Like, you don't have to hit rock bottom in order to feel good in your body and your relationship. If you just feel like you're looking for something different, you probably are, but it's inside of you, not outside of you. I don't know if that
The
answers your
body,
question.
no, you did. You did. That's a fantastic answer because I absolutely agree when it comes to the pain, right? Like the body will whisper, the pain will shout. We all
100%.
have we all have a choice. The longer you're disconnected from the things, from yourself and everything else, your body will tell you. It will say, "Hey, pay attention to me." Your fingers might start tingling. You may have a little pain in your back. We all have pain in our back these days. We're getting old. But
Yeah, it's all clear.
I know, right? But eventually it will be like, hey, your legs aren't working anymore. Hey, for some reason you're not able to speak. That and then when it reaches that point, for many people that reaches that point, it's too late because your body has been hurt and neglected for so long that now you wake up to your point, right? You lost your relationship, you lost your family, you lost your health. And if you can't move up and down the day, guess what? You're gonna lose that job that you sacrifice everything for. And I've seen people give up so much because they're so disconnected from reality is that they just don't see it. How can we help people to identify the behaviors of this disconnection so we assist them before it gets to the point where life has balanced the equation and they've lost almost everything?
I know, and when you say that, it like really breaks my heart because I know so many people that have gotten to that point. And I've also seen miraculous changes, right? And I want to tell you, like, one of the first healings I've ever done, it was fresh out of this class that I took. And this lady came over. She was referred to me by a family member. She had this really bad shoulder pain, and she said, I can't lift my arm for over 10 years. I can't lift, above my shoulder. It gets stuck here, frozen, and so much pain. And she was working at a grocery store. She has to stack stuff, and she couldn't, reach. She couldn't do any of that stuff. And so I was like, okay, let's see what's going on. And we do the session, and one of the things that was coming up is she was carrying on her shoulders, right? Shouldering all this pain that she had from this very intense fight she had with her sister 10 years ago. And ever since then, she can't move the shoulder, right? And so we clear all of that. And she goes home, and she was one of my first clients. So I had no idea what to expect or what's going to happen. And she calls me a few days later and she said, I don't know what we did, but I can do jumping jacks. I haven't been able to lift my arm over my head for 10 years, and I'm doing jumping jacks and waving my hands in the air. And she was so ecstatic. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. But the cool thing about it is like she was so ready to let that stuff go, and her body was so ready to let it go. That's how quick change can happen. But on the same side of the coin, I have a client that came to me because she has migraines and she has them like it's something that happens like once or twice a month where she can't leave her bedroom for 3 or 4 days, right? Now, this lady, like we were talking about, she works like, 10-hour days, gives it her all, never takes a break. She has kids, she's taking care of everybody. But what happens when she has a migraine? She has to be alone in her room. Nobody can talk to her, darkness, right? It's the only time she can actually relax. So for years, that has been, even though she was in so much pain, it was really working for her, right? It's really serving her to have a migraine because It's just like a mini vacation. It's painful, but it's a mini vacation from your life for 3, 4 days, right? Once a month. And so when she realized that that's what she was doing, she was able to find time in her day to change stuff up, to add some me time for herself. Even we started with 15 minutes, a day, 15 minutes just for you, right? Sit in your car, do a meditation, whatever, 15 minutes. But by doing that and by healing the migraine and being aware of why she was creating it in the first place, migraine's gone, right? And she's been dealing with it for years on all the medications. It's like our body is going to develop mechanisms to keep us safe, to keep us, not comfortable, but like you said, in that uncomfort zone, right? Just like we do with money. We use pain for our benefit to be numb. We use money in our benefit to do that. We use relationships. We are stuck way too long with the wrong people because we are afraid to be in our power. And that's the biggest thing. We think that being in our power is scarier than being stuck in a situation that we're in. And so we rather take what we know than the unknown. But the unknown is where everything shifts and changes. And it doesn't matter how old you are.
Why would some men and women stay in what is known then versus entering the unknown, even though many of them will admit that it's better?
Well, because it's comfortable. Like we said, right? It's almost like that golden cage, that it's like a golden cage. You're unhappy, but you know what you have and you can handle it. So even though you're not happy, it's predictable and you know what to expect. You know, I always say, like, the biggest everything that you desire is literally a step outside of your comfort zone, but you have to take that step. And that's the one step, right? It's that one step to going to the gym if you never work out and you want to lose weight. It's that one step putting, I don't know, an online profile of yourself to find a date. It's that one step to go live on the internet if you're trying to do this kind of work online. It's that one step. And we live in the prospect of all the worst things that can happen on that one step versus actually jumping in and seeing that it's way better than what we thought.
When it comes to energy healing, how do you help women participate in that? And what are some of the steps that you take with them for the energy healing?
So the work that I do right now is actually kind of like what I'm doing with you over the phone on Zoom. I disconnect them from their thinking brain and into their body. Energy is everything. And that's why you listen to a conversation, you're feeling what I'm talking about in your body. You're feeling the highs, you're feeling the lows. It's the same thing as if you're with me in the room or on the table in my office. And so when we disconnect you from your thinking brain, I have this special, it's not a meditation, it's more like an activation that I do to kind of disconnect you and into your subconscious, which holds 90% of everything that's holding you back, and into your body that holds all the knowledge of all the past lives and all the traumas and everything that you've been through. And we start releasing it. And I kind of guide you through it. There's some talking like we're doing right now, but that's what I do. And it's just amazing when you're open to it and you're outside of the thinking brain and in the subconscious what shows up for you. And so many times the biggest response is like, whoa, whoa, wow, I can't believe I think like that, or I had this belief for so long, or I've been feeling this or holding it in my body for so long. It's because, yeah, because we're not aware. We're not aware. So it's just bringing that awareness back to the surface.
I can definitely see some people being surprised,
Mhm.
but am I that way? Do I think like that? Am I that person? When you're helping them to through the energy work, and let's say it's a woman in a relationship, what are some of the benefits to that energy work for that person's relationship?
Oh my gosh, it changes 180% because when a woman is ready to work on herself and reconnect back to her body, then everything starts to happen, right? She is feeling connected. So now she feels sexy. So now her libido is up. That's like one of the biggest responses that I get from women that reconnect back to their powerhouse because suddenly they're like awaken that energy inside of them that's been dormant for so long, right? And so it's this vitality, it's this playfulness, it's really your feminine energy essentially that you're so disconnected from. And so when we bring that up to life, it changes everything because now the thing is, when you're in a relationship and you're disconnected, a lot of the times you're channeling male energy. You're channeling the masculine energy because you want to be safe. And because you haven't felt safe most of your life, you have to be your own protector. And then when you come into a relationship with a man, that's really hard because it's like you're trying to be the man, you're trying to be in control, you're trying to mother. And when you do that, the man automatically withdraws because it's like you're taking his role in a relationship. Subconsciously, of course, we're not doing that consciously, right? Again, it comes from if you experience trauma and you're in that fight or flight mode, it's from that space. And so you don't really allow yourself to open up to receive what you actually desire, which is to be loved and to feel seen and safe. And so when women do this work, it's like they really heal that connection with themselves and they awaken that energy inside of them, that feminine vibration that allows them to open and soften and receive. And it changes everything. And the whole dynamic changes.
I've seen so many women fall into that trap where, to your point, they're disconnected, they're in their masculine energy, and they just feel like they're trapped in that energy. So, to your point, the feminine side, the nurturing, the loving, the warmth, the cuddling is off, and then they're just survive, 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 work, 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 provide for myself, isolate, isolate. I'm independent. I am the table. All of these things, right? And
Mhm.
they have a place because sometimes you are alone and you have to take care of yourself. So I want everyone to understand that men and women both have feminine energy and masculine energy. Just you're tapping into it at different points, right? Some women, unfortunately, they stay so tapped into their masculine energy that they fall deeper and deeper and deeper to your point. Then they have to come to you because they're like, More, how do I be a woman again? How do I
Yeah,
accept that soft touch, right? Is that some of the conversation that you have? Like they're rediscovering themselves and their feminine side and their feminine energy?
100%. It's first we go from disconnected to feeling safe in your body. So what I do, I call it the diamond effect. Okay, you know how in the metaphysical world we have the mind, body, and soul, the pyramid. Well, I call it the diamond because it's mind, body, soul, and source. And for me, the source is the most important part because yeah, we can work on the body, mind, and the soul. But if the source is disconnected, we are actually disconnected from ourself, from our essence, from who we are. And so I kind of, in my work, it's like this method of we start with making the body feel safe again. That's like the number one thing because until you feel safe, you're not going to be activating anything that's going to put you in danger, right? You're not going to be open to receive anything. So the first step is being safe. And then we go into the mind and we really clear all the beliefs, all the clogged BS that you've been buying into your whole entire life about yourself and all the stuff that you've been conformed to. And we clear all those beliefs, preventing you from receiving, from, even all the beliefs about men, right? About money, about men, about all that stuff that's holding you back. And then we do the soul. What does the soul actually desire? What does your soul actually want? And then we do the source. And when we connect to the source, that's what I call it the diamond status, right? That's when you tap into your diamond status. Because at this point, you are just like in alignment, in your full power, in your full essence, and you're strong and resilient, but you shine so bright that none of this shit gets stuck with you anymore. You're like, bam, that's it. And that's what happens. It's like, the energy is there. You are like a magnet. And that's when the love shows up, the money shows up. Everything shifts for you because you are so ready for it. There's nothing stopping that from coming.
I can see all the husbands and the boyfriends pushing their partners towards you. Go to more, be sexy, because it's such an incentive to see. Like like from a male perspective, I'm with my partner. She's struggling. she goes and gets the energy work, and she's reborn into the woman that I always believed she was, right? And who she always believed, but something happened. It got lost somewhere. Or maybe it was pushed down.
Oh
And
yeah.
right? And you want to help her rediscover that. Like for those in relationships and they do the energy work and their partners are like, wow, right? Like how is their experience from their point of view if you've come in contact with that?
Well, yeah, I have husbands always messaging me. Thank you so much. I don't know what you did. It's magic. But what's really cool about this is that in reality, you're attracting whatever it is that you are putting out there. So if you're attracting a woman that is in this place, it's because there's a part of you that's also disconnected, that's also numb, that also needs the work. And so if you're listening to this and you're pinging it on your partner, there's also a part of you that matches that energy, that vibration. There's a part of you that enjoys the fact that she's being masculine. There's a part of you that likes to be mothered. There's a part of you that likes to be controlled. There's a part of you that, because of that, you don't have to worry about it and you can numb also. And so it's not just a one person job, right? It's like, yes, the woman awakens, she takes care of herself, and that actually inspires the male to do the same, but it can go the other way too. If you're listening and you're in this situation, the last thing you want to do is go to your wife and be like, so there's something wrong with you. You need to go see this energy healer, right? That's the wrong way to go about it. The right way to go about it is starting asking yourself, okay, I'm in this relationship. What did I do to create this? What is attractive to me in this? What is it doing for me that I'm in this kind of relationship? And then there's nothing wrong with you or with her. It's more about, okay, what journey do you need to go to? Because a lot of times, like I said, we're a mirror. And when you start working on yourself, your woman is also going to change. I work mainly with women, but I've worked with lots of men too. It's just women is the goal for me because my goal is to raise the feminine vibration on our planet. Like I truly believe the more women connect to their bodies and raise the vibration, we do this for the whole world, not just for ourselves, right? Like that's my goal. And so with men, it's a different work, but what's really interesting is that when I work with a man, it's like they have less of the drama. So they're, a lot more open and it's like kind of quick and different because they don't have the story. A lot of times it's more about in the body and it's like I'm ready to let it go and I let it go. And so, like I'm saying, it's like you work on you, that will shift everything, male or female. If you're listening to this and it's awakening you, it's because there's something inside of you that wants to be awakened, that wants to let go, that wants to shift. So just go with that. Don't wait for her to change. You start doing the work, and that will change her. It will allow her to take care of herself too.
When it comes to the nervous system and healing that, how does this connection show up in the nervous system and how do you help to heal that?
Well, so that's a big part of what I do, the nervous system healing, because when you experience trauma, the nervous system is really heightened. And that's why people have really high anxiety, really high stress. They don't really know how to function. They feel really insecure about themselves, right? And the way I love to describe it is I just want you to imagine a little boy all alone at home in the dark and feel about what that feels like. And so when you experience trauma and you disconnect from your body, that's what your body feels like all the time, like this little kid alone in the dark. That's your nervous system, right? And so us coming back is what's going to bring that nourishment back, put the light back on, give that little child that love that they need, that they desire, that they require. And that's when the real healing shows up and happens, right? So that's what the nervous system healing is really coming back to you because it's like your body is so out of whack because you're not there, right? That's really what it is. And so it's us coming back and calming that down.
Sometimes when I think of the disconnection, disassociation, it's like you have stepped outside of your body and you're watching your body live this life. it's struggling, it's in pain, but you're not able to do anything because you're not even a part of it anymore. Is that an accurate description of it?
100%.
Okay,
And you
I'm
feel
learning.
so numb. It's like you feel so numb that you think, okay, so when I drink, I feel something. And when I do drugs, I feel something. That's why people get so stuck on alcohol and drugs, because that's when they feel something. They're not connected, but they're feeling. Versus, like you said, this is what's happening. I can see it, but I feel like I have nothing to do with it and I don't know how to change it.
Okay, so they're not using, let's say, sex, drugs, and alcohol to soothe. They're using it to feel something that they're not able to feel because they're disconnected.
Yeah. And that's what happens a lot of times. So we do these crazy things, or we put ourselves in situations that we probably shouldn't, or we are around the wrong people. And a lot of times we think we're the problem. you know, Something's wrong with me. I'm the problem. But it's not that. It's more like you're creating this because you're missing yourself.
Because you're not with yourself anymore, so you're missing what you used to have.
Exactly.
If someone goes long enough, can they then forget what they used to have?
So I don't know if you forget what you used to have, but maybe you can forget who you really are and what you really came here to be and do. And so when you come back to yourself, you just suddenly like, oh yeah, I remember what it feels like to be me. Oh yeah, I remember that I love this. And this makes me happy and this brings me joy. And I'm not doing it to please anybody else. I'm just doing it for me. And suddenly I like being alone with myself. And suddenly it's not so bad to go on a walk by myself or have a coffee by myself. It's like I feel at home. And I think that's a lot of times the problem. It's like we are the home for our soul. Like our body is the home for our soul. And when we're not home, our body is not calm. So when you come back to you, that's where you feel, whole. You feel whole again.
And I can see that being difficult for some people, as you mentioned. They forget who they are because there's so many distractions out there, right? We mentioned work earlier.
Yeah.
I can see some people making a decision that more, do I work towards who I should work towards becoming, or do I work these extra hours because I want this type of lifestyle, right? Do you see
So
some people making that have to make a hard decision between maybe maintaining something that isn't necessarily serving them, but is giving them validation in a sense and attention, especially when it comes to social circle, versus the work that you and I are talking about, which is going to give them a more fulfilling life, but that goal is further down the road than this one.
So it's interesting because is it really further down the road, or is it just that you're focusing on one aspect of it and then you're missing the whole other side of it? Because, like you said, yeah, maybe I'm working and I have all this money, but if I'm very unhappy and I'm very unhealthy and I'm not fulfilled, how great is that? That's not great at all, right? Or, the people that work until they retire and then they sit at home and pretty much wait to die on their like watching TV. It's like you're never living your life. And so, yeah, you can work for money or you can have money work for you, right? You can work, like you said, work to live or work to die, right? It's like you make the choice. But again, you need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I really happy in this life? And am I really satisfied with what I've created? Because you've created whatever it is that you have. And if you created that, that means you can easily uncreate it and create something completely different, right? And so that doesn't have to take a long time. It doesn't have to be a huge journey. It just has to be a decision, a choice that you're not willing to sacrifice yourself anymore. They're not willing to live in a mediocre life anymore. Do you desire a change? And sometimes just making that choice, just making the declaration can change everything. can change the whole trajectory, but you have to choose to take that step.
Someone once shared with me that, Terrain, I will be happy once I make six figures.
Yeah.
Right? So they worked long hours, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Some days they would work a full 24 hours and then crash the next day. Because of the amount of overtime and everything, they made six figures. And they're like, oh, I'm not happy, so I'm going to work and make even more. So now, to your point, right, they just continue pursuing it. And then I asked this person one day, I was like, do you see a life without work? Meaning that, do you see a life where you can retire and enjoy? She's like, Terrain, I never thought about that. I was like, you haven't thought about a life without working 14, 16, 18, 20-hour days? She's like, no. So I was like, so you're going to end up marrying your job? And she kind of laughed. And I was like, well, what man who has his own job, who's successful, is going to want to have that type of situation where you're not going to be around, you're not going to be present, and you don't even see a life outside of your job, meaning that if he were to retire at 55, 60, 65, he's going to be eating bonbons on the couch like Peggy Bundy while you're working? Right? Does that make sense? And she's like, no. And I shared with her, I was like, the way it's supposed to work is that in most cases, unless something tragic or dramatic has happened, is that you essentially want to work from when you finish full time now, from when you finish school, let's say your 20s until let's say 55, 60. Then you have a period of let's say 15, 20 years and you're still young enough to do what you want to do with your partner. I was like, you're planning to work until you die, to your point. I'm like, you're
Mm-hmm.
not even going to wait at home to die. You're going to die at the work. Right? Do you hear stories about men and women, but in this case, women who are extremely disconnected that even when you show them the reality, they still can't see it, but you want to get them on the path.
Well, in this kind of case, I feel like realistically, that can't go on forever. There's going to be a waking point, a breaking point, just like with everybody else, right? There's going to be a health issue that's going to come up that's going to make her stop working. There's going to be fire. Maybe she's going to get fired, right? It's like there's only so much you can push yourself until there's going to be a stop if it's not good for you and it's not, and you're not on your path. There's going to be something intervene that's going to stop you. And you see it over and over and over again, right? The people that literally work themselves into amnesia, work themselves into pain, work themselves into heart attacks, right? That happens so much. And then they feel lost and disconnected and they have to go on the soul searching. And so it's really about realizing, like you said, that this is not the life that we want to create. Yes, you can be, I love what I do, right? I love my job, but I've created it to a place where I can have two businesses, three, I'm working on another, right? Three businesses. I have three children. I'm happily married. We go on vacation. So I'm definitely living my life and I'm still able to do what I love and what I feel so passionate about to support my mission. And that's really what it's about. It's that balance. It's the balance. And when one side is out of balance, something is going to happen. So you want to wake up before that because the truth is you know that something is off when you live like that. You know that something is off because you know you're alone. You're alone and you don't find your person. That could be the first thing, right? You're alone. You don't have the person with you. Maybe you're disconnected from your family because you just don't have time. Maybe you have no friends because you don't have time to celebrate with anybody on, you know, their birthdays or hang out with your girls, right? It's like there's only so much until you break. So you decide if you break or you decide if you shift and change. That's how it goes. I've seen it multiple all the time. I mean, the people that come to me are the people that broke, you know, because they didn't take care of it soon enough. They didn't shift it soon enough.
More, let me ask you one final question before I let you go. I want to give you three wishes, right? And you can wish for everything but more money and more wishes, of course.
Okay.
What are three things you wish the world knew about the benefits of women reconnecting with themselves and why?
Oh my gosh. Well, I really wish more than anything for for us to wake up and remember who we are, to really remember what we're here for and why we came here, to remember that we are, God's greatest gift. There's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing broken with us. We just sometimes need some help to get back on that path, back to our home. I wish for every man and woman to come back to their home, to treat their body like it's the temple, the biggest gift, the greatest gift that you have, and to remember that our life is so short on this planet. It's so short. So why